everyone. It's David here at Valley Beyond. We're just a little late today. We're going to try to start for noon, and we had a friend come over, Trevor Elric. Elric, and Trevor was amazing. We did probably a 1 hour interview, and then we got chatting after, and so it was hard to get away from that and to get to this, but here we are. We're going to, we're reading this book for you, for me. Actually, it's really for Earl. Earl's behind the camera and does such a great job of getting our message out. So it's Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. It's a kind of an amazing piece. I mean, if you're on the journey of awakening, if you're wanting to really feel more peace in your life, to be more at ease with everything, this book, this is it. I'll tell you, there's some great stuff in this. It's a great read. It's more like a text than a book. Like it's certainly not a storybook. Hawkins, his first book was Power versus Force, which I read many years ago, and I've read all of his works, and this is the last one before he passed. And so here we go. Chapter 3, page 26 only. The Anatomy of Emotions. There are numerous complicated psychologies of human emotions. They often involve considerable symbology and reference to mythology, and they are based on hypotheses that are hotly debated. As a result, there are various schools of psychotherapy with their different aims and methods. Simplicity is one of the earmarks of truth, and so we will describe a simple, workable, testable map of the emotions that can be verified by subjective experience. Excuse me, guys. Subjective experience as well as objective testing. So, it's interesting what he says about different psychologies of human experience. We would have thought probably that if you went to see a therapist or a psychologist that they certainly wouldn't be hitting you with one brand or the other, but it seems that's the case. The goal of survival, subtitle. Whichever psychology is studied reveals that the primary human goal, superseding all others, is survival. I get that. Every human desire seeks to ensure one's personal survival and the survival of one's identified groups, such as family, loved ones, and country. Humans fear, most of all, the loss of the capacity to experience. To that end, people are interested in the survival of the body because they believe that they are the body, and therefore they need the body to experience their existence. Because people view themselves as separate and limited, they are stressed by their sense of lack. It is common for humans to look outside of themselves for the satisfaction of their needs. This leads them to experience themselves as vulnerable because they are insufficient unto themselves. The mind is, therefore, a survival mechanism, and its method of survival is primarily the use of emotions. Really. Thoughts are engendered by the emotions, and eventually emotions become shorthand for thoughts. Thousands and even millions of thoughts can be replaced by a single emotion. Emotions are more basic and primitive than mental processes. Reason is the tool of the mind. Reason is the tool the mind uses to achieve its emotional ends. When used by the intellect, the basic underlying emotion is usually unconscious. When used by the intellect, the basic underlying emotion is usually unconscious, or at least out of awareness. Really. When the underlying emotion is forgotten or ignored, and not experienced, people are unaware of the reason for their actions, and they develop all kinds of plausible reasons. In fact, they frequently do not know they are doing what they are doing. That means that we're unconscious. We don't know why we're doing what we're doing, or we must be unconscious. And we want to be more conscious, right? I think so. There's a simple way to become conscious of the underlying emotional goal behind any activity through use of the question of what for. Oh, I love this question. For each answer, what for is asked again and again until the basic feeling is uncovered. An example would be the following. A man wants a new Cadillac. Seems reasonable. His mind gives all the logical reasons, but logic doesn't really explain it. So he asks himself, what do I want a Cadillac for? Well, he says, it is to achieve status, recognition, respect, and solid citizen success status. Again, what do I want status for? Well, respect, approval from others, he might say. And to ensure that respect, again, what do I want respect and approval for? To have the feeling of security.
Good morning, everyone. With David.
To have the feeling of security.
Here with my.
It's Earl. Earl is playing on the other computer here. Their early morning conversation with Trevor. So yeah, what do you want respect and approval for? To have the feeling of security. Again, what do you want security for? To feel happy. The continual question, what for, reveals that basically there are feelings of insecurity, unhappiness, and lack of fulfillment. Every activity or desire will reveal that the basic goal is to achieve a certain feeling. And there's no other goals than to overcome fear and achieve happiness. Emotions are connected with what we believe will ensure our survival, not with what actually will. Also, emotions are connected with what we believe will secure our survival, not with what actually will. Emotions themselves are actually the cause of the basic fear that drives everyone to seek security constantly. Page, here we go, another subtitle, The Scale of Emotions. For simplicity and clarity, we will utilize the scale of emotions that corresponds with the levels of consciousness. A thorough presentation of conscious levels, their scientific bias, and practical applications is found in the book Power versus Force, The Hidden Detriments of Human Behavior. It was written by Hawkins actually in '95, so it goes back a ways, that first book. Briefly, everything emits energy, either positive or negative. Intuitively, we know the difference between a positive person, friendly, genuine, considerate, and a negative person, greedy, deceitful, hateful. The energy of Mother Teresa was obviously different from the energy of Adolf Hitler. Most people's energy is somewhere in between the two. Music, places, books, animals, intentions, all of life emit an energy that can be calibrated. Energy can be calibrated as to its essence and to its degree of truth. Like goes to like. The different energies constellate in attractor patterns. Okay, like it attracts like, or levels of consciousness. The map of consciousness, which is in Appendix A, provides a linear, logarithmic view of the non-linear energetic terrain. Oh, really? Each level of consciousness or attractor pattern is calibrated in a logarithmic scale of energetic power. And this scale goes from 1 to 1,000. Quite familiar with the scale, I love it. The level of full enlightenment is 1,000 at the top of the map. Represents the highest level attainable in the human realm. it is the energy of Jesus Christ or the Buddha or Krishna. And the level of shame, which is at 20, is at the bottom, close to death, represents bare survival. The level of courage is at 200, is the critical point that marks the shift from negative to positive energy. It is the energy of integrity, being truthful, empowerment. It's the level of truthfulness, empowerment, and having the capacity to cope. The levels of consciousness below courage are destructive, whereas the levels above it are life supportive. A simple muscle test reveals the difference. Negative stimuli below 200 instantly weaken the muscle, and positive stimuli above 200 instantly strengthens the muscle. True power strengthens the force. I see. True power strengthens, force weakens. Above the level of courage, people seek us out because we give energy to them, power, and we have goodwill towards them. Below the level of courage, people avoid us because we take energy from them, and we want to use them for our own material or emotional needs. Here we delineate the basic scale, starting from the higher energies down to the lower. So they started at 600, because I think he's probably thinking above 600 is hardly anybody gets to. 600 is peace, and he's going to go through the scale down. This is experienced as perfection, bliss, effortlessness, and oneness. It is a state of non-duality, beyond separation and beyond the intellect, as in the peace that passeth all understanding. It is described as illumination and and enlightenment. It is rare on the human realm. 600. The next one is joy at 540. Also at 540 is unconditional love. But joy, he says, love that is unconditional and unchanging is joy. Despite circumstances and actions of others, the world is illuminated by exquisite beauty, which is seen in all things. And the perfection of creation is self-evident. There is closeness to unity and discovery of self. There is closeness to unity and discovery of self. Compassion for all, enormous patience, the feeling of at oneness with others, and a concern for their happiness. A sense of self-completion and self-sufficiency prevails. And then love at 500, a way of being that is forgiving, nurturing, and supportive. It does not proceed from the mind, rather it emits from the heart. Love focuses on the essence of a situation, not the details. It deals with wholes, not particles. As perception is replaced with vision, it takes no position and sees the intrinsic value and lovability of all that exists. Reason is at 400. This aspect differentiates humans from the animal world. There is the ability to see things in the abstract, to conceptualize, to be objective, and to make rapid and correct decisions. Its enormous utility is problem solving. Science, philosophy, medicine, and logic are expressions of this level. Acceptance is at 350. This energy is easygoing, laid back, harmonious, flexible, inclusive, and free of inner resistance. Life is good. You and I are good. I feel connected. It meets life on life's terms. There's no need to blame others or blame life. Willingness, that's at 310. This energy subserves survival by virtue of the positive attitude that welcomes all experiences of life. It is friendly, helpful, wants to assist, and seeks to be of service. Willingness. Neutrality is at 250. This is a way of life that is comfortable, pragmatic, and relatively free of emotionality. It's okay either way. It's free of rigid positions, non-judgmental, and non-competitive. Courage is at 200. This energy says, I can do it. It is determined. It is a determined energy. It's excited about life. It's productive and independent and self-empowered. Effective action is possible at 200. Under 200, there's pride at 175. Pride says, my way's the best way. Its focus is achievement. Its focus is achievement, desire for recognition, specialness, and perfection. It feels better than and superior to others. And at 150 is anger. This energy overcomes the source of fear by force, threats, and attack. It is irritable, explosive, bitter, volatile, resentful. It likes to get even, as in, I'll show you. Anger. Underneath that is desire, 125. It is always seeking gain, acquisitions, pleasure, and getting something outside of oneself. It is insatiable and never satisfied and caring. I have to have it. Give me what I want. Give it to me now. That's from desire at 125. Fear is at 100. This energy sees danger, which is everywhere. It is avoidant, defensive, preoccupied with security, possessive of others, jealous, restless, and anxious and vigilant. It's funny, eh? Because, as we go through these, I can see many of these in my life. I can see love and reason and acceptance, willingness, neutrality in my life, courage, but I also can see fear, anger, and desire, and pride. So I think we have all of these on a daily basis even, or at least I do. I wish I could be living in the higher realms all the time. Anyway, and that's the possibility. Grief is at 75. There is helplessness, despair, loss, regret, and the feeling, if only I had, separation and depression, sadness, being a loser, mournful, as in I can't go on. It's grief at 75. Apathy is at 50. The energy is characterized by hopelessness, playing dead, being a drain to others, being immobilized, and the feelings I can't, and who cares, and poverty is common in apathy. And guilt is at 30. In this energy field, one wants to punish and be punished. It leads to self-rejection, masochicism, and remorse, feeling bad, and self-sabotage. It's all my fault, accident proneness, and suicidal behavior, and projection of self-hatred onto evil others, and the projection of self-hatred onto evil others are common. It is the basis of many psychosomatic illnesses. That was guilt. And then the bottom one they talk about is shame. It's at 20, characterized by humiliation, as in hanging your head in shame. It's a traditionally accompanied by banishment. It is destructive to health and leads to cruelty towards self and others. Wow. In general, it says we can say that the lower end of the scale is associated with lower vibrational frequencies and lower energies, lower power, poor life circumstances, and poor relationships, less abundance, less love, and poor physical and emotional health. Because of the low energy, such needy people drain us on all levels. They tend to be avoided. They tend to be avoided and find themselves surrounded by people on the same level, i.e. in jail. Wow. Okay, as we let go of negative feelings, there is a progressive movement up the scale to courage, and then beyond, with increasing effectiveness, success, and more effective abundance. We tend to seek out such people. We say they are high, they give off life energy, to all living things around them. Animals are attracted to them. They have a green thumb and positively influence the lives of all with whom they come in contact. The level of courage, the negative feelings have not all disappeared, but now we have sufficient energy to handle them because we're re, we've reowned our power and self adequacy. The fastest way to move from the bottom of to the top is by telling the truth to ourselves and others. Wow, the fastest way of moving from the bottom to the top is by telling the truth to ourselves and others. The energy levels are also traditionally associated with the body energy centers that are sometimes referred to as chakras. The chakras are energy centers through which Kundalini energy is said to flow. Wow. Once it is awakened at the level of courage, the energy centers, the chakras, can be measured by a variety of clinical techniques and sensitive electronic instruments. On the map of consciousness, the chakras calibrate as follows. The crown chakra is at 600, the third eye at 525, the throat at 350, heart at 505, solar plexus at 275, sacral or spleen at 275, and base and root chakra at 200. When we relinquish negative feelings, the energy in our higher chakras increase. For instance, instead of habitually venting our spleen, the second chakra are now described as all heart, the fifth chakra. This energy system has a direct impact on the physical body. The energy in each chakra flows out through the channels called meridians to the whole energy body, which is like a blueprint to the physical body. Each meridian is associated with a particular origin in each, or particular organ, and each organ is associated with a particular emotion. A negative emotion throws off the energy balance of all associated acupunctural meridians and related organs. For instance, depression, despair, and melancholy are associated with the liver meridian. So these emotions tend to interfere with the liver function. Every negative feeling impairs a body organ, and as the years go by, that organ may become diseased and eventually fails to function. Imagine. So it's like clearly documented that our emotions affect our body and our organs. The lower our emotional state, the more negatively we influence not only our own lives, but also all of life around us. The higher the emotional state, the emotional level of evolution, the more positive our life becomes in all levels. And we support all life around us. As negative emotions are acknowledged and surrendered, we get freer and move up the scale, eventually experiencing predominating positive feelings, predominantly positive feelings. At lower emotions, all lower emotions are limitations and blind us to the reality of our true self. As we surrender our way up the scale and near the top, a new type of experience begins to happen. At the very top of the scale, there occurs the realization of one's true self and the varying levels of illumination. The main importance of this is to note that as we get higher and freer, what we would call spiritual awareness, intuition, and growth of consciousness occur. This is the common experience of all who surrender their negative feelings. They become more and more conscious. That which is impossible to see or experience at lower levels of consciousness becomes self-evident and stunningly obvious at higher levels. Wow. So I think that's going to be it for today. We're halfway through chapter 3. I love this book. I hope you're enjoying it. If you're just tuning in, I want you to go back and kind of listen to what we've just read. Order this book. We've got the link for this book posted, and you can order it on Amazon and get a copy of it. It's amazing if we can read through it together. If you have any comments, thoughts, anything you want to share with me about what we're doing, love for you to do that. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you will. Appreciate that. Okay, love you guys, and I love reading this book. Thank you for listening. Cheers.